Hello, everyone. This is Palak from Memo Pandits, and we are India's first mooting school for law students, founded in 2014 by Anant Gupta and Rajnendra Tripathi. We provide a unique platform that creates content and courses to bridge the gap between learning and actually seeing all the practical aspects of courtroom as well as classroom. Today, we have with us the winning team of NUJS HSF Corporate Law Moot Court Competition. I would kindly request all these speakers one by one to introduce themselves. Nikunj, if you could go first.
Sure. So hi everyone. I am Nikunj Maheshwari. I am a fourth year law student at the Institute of Law, Nirma University. And previously, I have participated in two competitions, one pertaining to constitutional law conducted by the University Law College, Bangalore, where I was also adjunct as the given the best memorial award. Uh, in the other one, the other moot court competition was pertaining to insolvency law. I am quite interested, as you can see from my portfolio as well, that I'm quite interested in corporate law and have multiple publications in the same sector. Specifically, also, I am a student at the Institute of Company Secretaries of India and have cleared till the level of CS executive exam.
That's great to know, Nikunj. Kajal, if you could follow.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Myself, Kajal Singh, and I'm currently a fourth year student at Institute of Law, Nirma University. HSF was my fifth moot, and previously I've participated in NLSIU PIL drafting competition, subsequently in the SAC moot court competition, and then the previous moot before HSF was IBBI NLIU corporate law moot court competition, and we were adjudged as the runners up of the moot court competition. And I my interests align with corporate law, and in specific, my predilections are or my inclination is towards insolvency law.
That's good.
That's enough from my side.
That's great to know, Kajal. Vanshika, if you could follow.
Hello everyone, my name is Vanshika Agarwal and I'm a fourth year law student at Institute of Law, Nirma University. HSF was my third moot, and previously, like in the first year, I participated in the moot checkmate organized by AIL Mohali, and in my third year, I participated in JESUP, where the team that I was a part of was given the citation for second best memorial. My interests lie in commercial law, international law, and corporate law. That's it from my side.
That's great to hear, Vanshika. I think all of us here are in awe of all the achievements that you as a team and as individuals have accomplished so far. I personally feel that HSF, Corporate Law Moot Court Competition, is a very reputed moot court competition in India. And this year's problem was based on the doctrine of reflective laws, the doctrine of derivation action suit, and the conflict of laws. So, if I may ask you, Nikunj, first, that what is the reason behind choosing this particular mode, and was it your particular interest in corporate law since you are an institute of ICSI?
As you yourself mentioned, that this is one of the most prestigious moods pertaining to corporate law. And in my first year, I remember I had an opportunity to have a conversation with the senior team of my college who participated in the same mood, and they told me how interesting the journey of HSF always is. You get an opportunity to argue before stalwarts of corporate law, whether it be V. Niranjan or whether it be some corporate lawyers from across the country who may have argued very big cases before Supreme Court or High Court, or whether it be Umakant Virutil sir. So that was in my mind, and I always wanted to participate in this move. And it was only in my fourth year that I get this opportunity.
That's great. Vanshika, if you could tell our viewers your reason for choosing this mood.
As I previously stated, I have an interest in corporate law, and since I'm in fourth year, I want to find ways where I can explore my interest and be also be able to find like jobs or opportunities in this particular area. From what I've heard and from what everyone tells from that experience, it is imperative that one has a CV that is streamlined and reflects your interest. So my reason for choosing this particular mood was, as you and Nitin have already mentioned, that it is a prestigious mood, and secondly, I knew that the competition would be tough, and we would have to grill ourselves, and we would have to really work hard on it, and then it would be very interesting. And also thirdly, that it would add to my interest and reflect that I'm interested in corporate law. So for all of these reasons, I chose to participate in this particular mood.
All right. Miss Kajal, if you could also state your reasons.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to further my understanding of commercial laws, and of course, I interacted with my seniors. And given that HSF is a moot of repute, so I was told that the problem challenges you to the core and helps you build an understanding of commercial laws. And doesn't really confines you to one jurisdiction, as happened that while we were reading for HSF, we had to deal with two jurisdictions primarily, which was UK and India. Other than and we had to extend ourselves beyond the same as well. So yeah, primarily because I wanted to develop a nuanced understanding of commercial laws and wanted to keep myself engaged with something productive. So HSF was the first choice, and this is one mood that I wanted. So I've always been very particular about the moods that I wanted to do, given that this was HSF was my fifth mood. So I always it'll select mood depending upon my areas of interest. So HSF is something that I wanted to do right from my third year. And fortunately, I got an opportunity to do it in my fourth year. So yes, my interest, and given that I wanted to learn more, HSF was an obvious choice for me.
That's great to hear. So, Miss Vanshika, if you could tell our viewers as to what all points or what all intricacies they must look into before choosing a particular meat.
I think firstly, before choosing a particular mood, one must look at their interest area. But it is very normal that when you are in your law school, you might not even know what your interest area is. And therefore, even for just for the sake of exploring, one should try to do different subject matter if they're not clear as to what is the particular line that they want to go in. If they are clear about the line, then they should try to find moods in that particular line. Not only will it help in gaining a deeper understanding of that subject area, but you will also get an opportunity to meet and interact with people who are from that area, and maybe build connections that may help you in the future. Secondly, I think people need to try to strive for doing, as you have stated, that we do, unfortunately or fortunately, we do have a system of hierarchy of moods in our country. So people should try to strive for doing higher level moods, or whatever, or moods that are essentially categorized as being on a higher hierarchy. However, that should not cause an impediment, and if you're not getting allotted those moods that you want to do, people should not get dismayed and still try to do moods in general, whatever category that they might belong to, because moods help in building a good understanding of how to approach a law, how to interpret law, how to come up with hypotheses and various arguments. It helps in developing analytical skills. So I think, devoid of everything, people should just engage in mooting in law school in general. But if they have the option of exercising choices when it comes to mood, they should go for moods that are in tandem with the subject area that they want, and are preferably ranked higher.
That's one good way of looking at it. Miss Kajal, my next question is directed towards you. Since this year's problem was drafted by Mr. V. Niranjan, who is a barrister at the Excess Court, can you tell our audience as to the difficulty level of the moot court problem, and how much time did you guys take as a team to decode the problem and formulate issues at the same time?
Um, I'm not sure that if on a scale of 1 to 10, I could actually pinpoint a particular number indicating how difficult the mood problem was. However, one thing which I can conclusively say is drawing upon our experiences that we did had a tough time in finding solutions to certain questions. In fact, one of the issues that we were dealing with in particular, we knew as to what is it that we're supposed to argue logically, but in terms of authorities and backing, so it was just 2 days prior to our submission that we found something conclusive. So yes, we did had a tough time trying to find solutions to the same. And I think the mood problem stressed upon a lot of basics. So it wouldn't have sufficed had we done a peripheral reading of the laws, but we had to actually delve into the very basics and core of the law, which was the core of the problem, and it was only then that we could find a solution. And given that HSF always comes up with problems, with issues which are contemporary, either in terms of a judicial pronouncement or a legislative amendment. So yes, we had a tough time in finding the relevant material and tough time in streamlining our arguments, which cogently and coherently made sense while arguing.
Definitely, Ms. Kajal. My next question is for Mr. Nikunj. Did your prior knowledge of corporate law help in cracking the moot proposition that you were posed with? And if not, was there an extra amount of research that you had to put in to level up the field with the other people who did not have the prior experience with respect to corporate law, or was it same?
Uh, so to answer your first leg of the question, I would say that definitely our prior knowledge of the corporate law helped us a lot while framing the issues, while coming up with the logical answers to some questions or queries. So to take an instance, I and Kajal, and in fact Vanshika also read about derivative action suit, which a lot of our seniors and mentors who we went to for the help were not aware of. This was only because we read about it in various articles, whether it be on India Court Law or Taxman, etc. So this helped us in a way. However, coming to the concept of reflective loss, this was absolutely new to us, and we had to work a lot on it. We had to read about how this particular doctrine is dealt in not only UK but other jurisdictions as well, whether it be common law or not so. Uh, we went to the US jurisdiction, the Hong Kong, Singapore, and UK filing. So this was not, it cannot be said in a straightforward or a straight jacket way that your prior knowledge do helps you in the corporate moods, because corporate is one such factor which keeps evolving at a very great pace. So what might be happening in UK will not be definitely happening in India, and what may be definitely happening in US may not be available anywhere in the world. So you need to keep reading, but definitely your prior reading does not helps you extremely in a mood.
Sure, Mr. Nikunj. I have a question in my chat box which says that how should a person research on a particular mood proposition? I would direct this question to Miss Vanshika if you could answer.
So I think there is no one particular method of researching. I mean, firstly, you have to look at the nature of the mood. I think that really helps. So you have to see what is the kind of mood you're doing, and you have to look at the past experiences and the people in the past who have done the mood, who have drafted the problem, and who are what kind of problems were drafted. So you would get an understanding and an insight as to how that mood operates. Secondly, while progressing with the research, you try to go in tandem with the understanding and insight you have gained with regards to what is the kind of research that you need to collect as far as the moot is concerned. So what I'm trying to say is, for example, right now, as we did HSF court law moot, in my previous experiences, the way that I approached a mood problem was just indiscriminately researching upon a subject matter and then trying to come up with a solution and draft a memorial. With this particular mood, that method was not helpful for me. So what really helped in researching in this particular mood, and which Kajal and Nikunj and I collectively came up with this idea, was to read the previous problems that have been released by HSF. We read those problems. We saw as to who were the persons who had drafted these problems. We tried to read the articles of the people who were involved in drafting these problems, as well as we read the articles written by Mr. Niranjan, as well as his colleagues and people he closely works with. So we got an insight into how his brain works and what he might be looking for as a solution with this particular mood. And when we started reading upon this, when we started reading about the articles written by Mr. V. Niranjan, we also understood why he has put in the why he put the particular questions of law that he put in our mood problem as well. And therefore we were able to come up with answers that we knew would be favorable to the judges. And since the bench memo is created by the institute that is organizing the problem, we knew that if we created a memorial on the basis of arguments that would be liked by the drafter of the problem, we would be able to go ahead, because now our minds would be in sync with the person who has created a problem, and he is probably looking for a particular kind of solution, and we were able to provide those solutions to him. So I think there needs to be a people need to strategize as to how they want to go about researching, and that can only be done by understanding the nature of the mood itself.
I personally feel that that is a very smart way to research. I have another question in my chat box, which says how to find relevant cases on a particular proposition. I would request Kajal to answer this question.
I personally do not feel I am the correct person to answer this question because I'm not a very case law driven person. I focus and emphasize more on logic. So whenever it is that I'm mooting, I try and break the problem logically first. And once I have the logic in place, I then try and look for cases or backing. So I'm fine if I do not have backing, as long as I know that the logic that I'm putting forth is sound and makes sense. However, if I am to answer that question, that how to find case laws, I mean, it's a gray area, because you might have case laws on that subject matter, or you may not, depending upon the complexity of the issue and the newness of the issue. You will find case laws. So if there are case laws, I mean, just read. You have to streamline your research, maybe do a Manu search or a SCC search, but have your logic in place first. You will eventually find backing for the same. May not be in exact terms, but then you can always interpret a particular case law if it at least touches upon the area of law that you're discussing. So I think this is the path that one should follow. Have your logic in place first and then look for backing. So that helps you find relevant material. You might not find the exact terms. So while we were looking for cases on reflective laws in India, so we didn't surely found any which explicitly used the term or dealt with the doctrine. However, we could find a couple of ancillary judgments in terms that they briefly touched upon these areas, and we could interpret it. So I think this is one way that you can go about looking for case laws. Although I still feel that your research should not revolve around finding case laws while you're mooting. It should be pure logic and understanding of law.
So I have a lot of follow-up questions in my chat box. I would just mold it in a certain way as to ask you, this particular ideology, has it helped you crack a first impression in front of the judges when you're not posing case laws after case laws and only presenting with logic to the particular judge?
I think it's subjective. I mean, there cannot be one formula as to how a particular judge approaches a moot court competition. Few are logic driven, few are law driven, few are case laws driven. So, since this was my fifth moot, I have received varied feedback multifarious feedback. Few judges have explicitly asked me to cite more authorities. Few judges have explicitly asked me to focus more on the statutory provisions, and few judges were just impressed by the logic that I had argued. So I think at the end of the day, it needs to be a culmination or confluence of all the three. So have a balanced view. So I am not saying that your argument should be in entirety be denuded of case laws. There should be some authority. However, this is how you can establish your argument, state the logic first. In it'll be good if you can back it up with a case law or some authority, but if you don't, I mean, as long as you're presenting a sound logic, the judge will understand. Of course, if there's a very obvious authority out there which you couldn't find while you were researching, so that did counts as a negative. How it's still fine. So do not focus much on case laws. Logic helps. At least it helps. It has helped me so far in all my moods. I am not sure if you face some judge who's say like more case law driven.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kajal. Mr. Nikunj, I'd like to ask you as to how did you guys divide the work amongst yourselves when you were researching for the proposition?
So we divided the issues between us, and accordingly, we not only drafted but researched on the issue. So Vanshika, since she had an experience pertaining to international law, took up the first issue, which pertained to the conflict of laws and applicability of UK laws in India and other things on the same ground. So Vanshika could research really well on that issue and draft accordingly. And since she was also our first speaker, so she knew what to argue and how to go beyond the memos and what to argue before the judge, so that beyond your memo as well, you are able to convince the judge to fall on your side. Since I was aware on a little of the corporate side, I took the second issue, and from both the sides. When I say second issue, it means both the sides. And Kajal took third issue. Subsequently, since the second from the petitioner side, we had a relatively less burden on the second issue. I also took up the fourth issue. And once we were done writing this work and researching, whenever we were done with our work, our personal works, we would look into the work done by our teammates. So I would check Kajal's work. If I feel something is missing, some linkage is missing, some things need to be added, I will do it. Whereas Kajal would follow the same thing with Vanshika. So this is how we divided our work. And pertaining to editing and formatting work, it was taken by all three of us together.
Just a follow-up question, Mr. Nikunj. So, by your answer, I am able to infer that you divided the issues as according to the person who has to deal it in the oral rounds, or did you all work at the same time or one time or the other on all the issues?
No. So we all didn't work together on all the issues, because that will not help us in any way. We have a time constraint. We have to go into the depth of the issue, not horizontally, but vertically. So vertically, it is only possible when a single person looks into the complete array of cases, judicial pronouncements, laws, etc., legislations. So that is only possible when one person knows. However, there are also issues when a person reads something, he or she may able to decipher whether the argument makes sense or not, whether it's grammatically correct, whether it
Indeed.
is logically sound or not. So that was how we divided. And what was your second question? I guess I'm just unable to remember it right now.
I think you have satisfactorily answered the second as well.
Perfect.
My next question is for Vanshika. So, can you briefly tell us about the quality of judging at the rounds? Were the judges well versed with the facts as well as the law on the issues that were framed?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the best reasons one should go for doing HSF NUJS, because you know that this being a good moot and also being organized by NUJS, they would bring in the best judges. Also, this is the corporate law moot. So even for a prelims round, we had judges from the best law firms from India. I'm not sure, but I think there were judges from Khaitan, Sam, in the in the preliminary rounds itself. So you know that the judges are going to be good, and they are going to grill you and ask you good questions that will even make you question how well you understand the law that you had researched upon. So I would say the quality of judges was very good. Quality of judges was very good throughout the competitions from the prelims to the finals. However, I am a little biased in saying that obviously the judges in the finals were excellent because Mr. V Niranjan was there, and since he had drafted the problem, it was just a pure delight to argue in front of him and see his reaction as we are arguing, whether we are able to satisfy the conundrum of law that he was looking for or not. But I would say that people should try to do good moods, because you know, if you're doing a good mood, the quality of judges will be good, and they ask very tough questions that, and they grill you a lot, which is a, which is also a very pleasant experience if you have put in a lot of effort and work into creating a memorial and then practicing oral rounds. You want someone to help you figure out your own potential and what is the level of questions that you can answer. And with NUJS I found that even though we had practiced a lot before the actual rounds, there were still questions that we weren't able to ask each other, and they were really good questions. So this was a very interesting and great experience for us as far as the quality of judges is concerned.
Indeed. My next question is from Ms. Kajal. How well do you think the entire competition was organized? Were there any administrative hiccups on part of the organizing committee during the competition?
I mean, there were some in terms that the rounds got really delayed. So the rounds weren't conducted on time. But given that they were organizing it for the first time on a virtual platform, I think since we have done the same, we understand the technical glitches and the inadequacies or insufficiency in terms of organizing a mood online. This transition has not really been easy for all of us. So even though there were a couple of hiccups, I think NUJS organized it really well. So yeah, nothing, something that was so significant that that serves as an impetus for me to sit here and criticize the organizing committee. But yes, so despite that there were few glitches and that the rounds weren't really organized in accordance with the time that were told to us, NUJS did manage it really well.
Indeed. All right. So, Mr. Nikunj, if you could answer my next question, which is if you could tell our viewers as to the approximate number of teams that participated in this competition, and which team would you personally consider as your toughest competition?
So, as you must be knowing, and as the listeners of this particular webinar must be aware, that NUJS HSF is an invitation-based competition. So, not all colleges can go and register for the competition. It's not registration-based. It's only NUJS who decides which college can participate. So this year, if I'm not mistaken, they decided that 24 teams around across the country can participate in this competition, which obviously involved top-notch law universities and NLUs. Uh, to answer your second question, though I'm not sure who to call as our toughest competition, but I must say that Symbiosis Pune, if I'm not mistaken, Symbiosis Pune was quite good. And if we go by the marking as well, there was a close call between the judges to say who should win, whether us or Symbiosis Pune. In semis, by the way, it was in semis.
All right. Ms. Vanshika, would you recommend HSF to any other mooter who is doing mooting as an art for the first time?
Yeah, sure, definitely. I would definitely recommend someone to do HSF if they are doing it for the first time. And even if not first time, you're doing it for the fourth time, fifth time, it really depends upon your interest. If you're just exploring your interest, then whether you do it, if you do it the first time, it's better. Even, and if you have explored your interest and you know that corporate is the field that you want to get into, then definitely one should do HSF, because HSF allows you to go beyond the limitations of the working of law of your own country. HSF, because it is in conjunction with, because SSF, NUJS is in conjunction with NUJS, HSF London, you know that the problem will have some aspect of internationalization in it. And in that situation, every year, including this year, the problem will have aspects that will deal with UK law and Indian law. Mostly it happens that India, since it is still in its nascent stage of corporate law development, would not have a similar feature as would be found in the UK law. And in that situation, it would the onus would come upon the participant to find the solution to the same. So one needs to understand that it is such a new area of law that you are exploring, upon which no research really exists, because a similar thing does not exist in the Indian jurisdiction. So in that case, one will have to apply their own mind and develop, and this will really help in developing their own analogical it will help in development of the analogical and analytical skills of the participant. So that's why I think, just for the, even if you're not interested in corporate law per se, but you have some interest in developing your analytical skills, I think one should definitely do HSF corporate, because it provides a great area and arena for a person to develop individually as a lawyer.
Definitely. I have a follow-up question in my chat box. Since you dealt with the conflict of laws segment, I'd like to ask this to you. That the question says that the person Yash Garg needs help with respect to finding jurisdictions that are applied. So if you could answer this question.
So, for example, in our problem, we knew that the conflict of jurisdiction was between UK and India. We also knew that that we had to prove that Indian courts would have the jurisdiction to deal with a particular subject matter. In for example, in our particular place, we had to prove that from the petitioner side that the English law should be applied in the Indian jurisdiction. So, firstly, if a person is dealing with a conflict of law problem, it needs to be checked on two grounds. It needs to be seen whether the place has jurisdiction or not, and if you are settled on the fact that a place has jurisdiction, the second major issue is what should law of which place should be applicable. So it should, because there are cases in which multiple jurisdictions are involved, and the law of any other place can also be applied in the jurisdiction of another court. So our case dealt with the latter part, in which we had to say that English law should be applicable before the Indian courts. So I think what the with regard to the participants question, I would state that first they should get a clear understanding of what are the jurisdictions involved, then try to get an understanding of how the laws of that jurisdiction deal with that particular conflict of law situation. So for example, in India as well as in the UK, there are guidelines, and in fact in UK there is codification, there is a statutory law which delineates as to how the UK courts will deal with conflict of law situation. So when you get into the intricacies of law, you will on your own be able to find you will on your own be able to come up with solutions and find answer as to how the conflict of law needs to be dealt with, because the law of that jurisdiction, whether it is codified or whether it arises from the common law, would guide you to that answer. So I think the best way is to just read everything and anything that you can upon that subject matter, and once you've read enough, you automatically will gain an understanding and you will know how to move ahead with the particular issue that you have in mind.
Indeed, Ms. Vanshika. So, I would now request all these team members to share one tip if they could give to all our viewers with respect to mooting. Let's start with Kajal first.
I'll say be very specific about the mood that you want to do. Make sure that it aligns with your interests. So once you're into that process, you do not feel as if you're doing it out of a compulsion. Whether I know it sounds very cliche, but I think one should focus more on the journey, because it teaches you a lot, in terms that it teaches you how to interpret law, how to go about something. So be very specific about the mood that you're choosing, and then be thorough with your facts. Because at the end of the day, whatever law that you're applying, you have to essentially mold it in accordance with the facts which have been given to you. So until unless you do not really are thorough with your facts and do not really have them on your tips, your application will always be flawed, and any attempt will be botched to an extent that you will not be able to extract the most out of it. So I think these are the two tips which are very fundamental to me while I am mooting. So yes, the mood that I'm doing needs to personally align with my interest, and I'm very thorough with the facts. So I would know on which page number, on which line, what is written, because that essentially helps me to extract the most out of the law that I'm reading. So I think, yeah, that's it's from my side.
Indeed. Mr. Nikunj, if you could follow her.
Right. So from my end, I feel that one should keep researching, research, and research is the core of fundamental of any moot court competition. The better and more you research, the better your clarity regarding the moot problem and question of law gets. So from my end, I'll definitely say that one should research really well when they or he or she is participating in any moot court competition.
All right. Miss Vanshika, if you could answer this particular question in your views.
Sorry, I lost my connection in between. What's the question that what should be the one tip if I were to give one?
Yeah, yeah, that is the question with respect to mooting.
Yes. I don't really have like there are no shortcuts to doing state the best way to get really at the crux of the problem is to research as much as you can. But I have experienced my past mooting competitions that people tend to get cocky with little research that they have done, and so at the end of the best advantage that anyone has over other person is the depth of research that they have. So instead of trying to find shortcuts, one should focus on researching and reading as much as they could on a particular subject matter. Firstly, one needs to identify that what is it really that the problem is, what is the question that the problem is trying to, what is the important question that the issue deals with. For most probably, like mostly 98% of cases, there is a situation, a very development of law that come up and has opened a lot of questions, and that's why a particular mood problem has included that in it. You have to research everything that you can around it and not to get answers on the basis of authorities that already exist, because this is a new thing that has developed, and most probably uh, the competition is looking for a solution for that recent development. So try to gain an understanding of whatever that recent development is, research upon it, try to find what the answers that you, and even among the teammates, people should really debate and discuss with each other. I think that's very important. That was one of the advantages that we had in this sport, was that each of us were constantly questioning each other as to why this, why that, and you had to prove it to the satisfaction of the other person who does not know the area of law as to why you have chosen a particular trajectory. So I think, yeah, so I would end by saying that one should need to really research in depth about a particular issue, and that present that research to the teammate to discuss it, to sort of streamline it, and to really get an argument that you have all the answers to whatever question that might be posed.
Indeed, that is a very crisp conceptualization of voting by all three of you. I think that if our viewers keep all the points that have been mentioned and reiterated in the webinar today, they can ace any moot, just like they have for HSM. Further, I would like to inform you all that we have come to an end of today's webinar. The attendance form link must have been circulated in the chat box. Please fill that. And needless to say that the same form is not for the speakers to fill. And so we also have another webinar scheduled on 25th of April on foreign arbitration. I would request you all to kindly stay tuned. In the end, I would just like to thank you all, the speakers, the viewers, the audience for coming here today and taking out your time for this Pandora's box of knowledge with respect to mooting. It was a lovely time with all of you. And in the end, I'd just like to mention that we at Memo Pandits uh, offer our courses with respect to people who are not able to get this art of moving at the first off. We have very specialized self-paced courses with respect to oral argumentation, memorial making, and even citation methods. Thus, these courses are very essential for any first year, second year, or any year law school student who is facing any kind of difficulty in handling a particular moot. We also provide mentorship courses for individual moods in case a particular team is facing any issues. With that, I would like to end this particular webinar and thank you all once again for joining us here today.
On behalf of the entire team, I just extend a heartfelt gratitude to Memo Pandits for inviting us. And yeah, it was indeed an enriching experience for us to share our insights with reference to our experience in our journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much to
Thank
all
you.
of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.